Today we're breaking down one of the most aggressive income ETFs on the market right now, HOOW, the Roundhill Hood Weekly Pay ETF. This thing's making noise with nearly 48% total returns in just 2 months since it launched. It has a distribution yield over 197% and a strategy that's entirely built on Robinhood stock performance. But is it too good to be true? In this video, I'll show you how HOOW actually works, and I'll do it in plain English, what the risks are that no one's really talking about, and who this kind of fund is right for. And we'll finish this video out with the full side-by-side versus ULTY, followed by a 5-year reinvestment simulation that might blow your mind. Lots of great stuff today, so without further ado, let's dive in. Welcome back, guys. Rico here once again, this time with an exciting new weekly ETF breakdown. But before we get started, as always, this is for educational and inspirational purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not investment advice. Always, always, always do your own research before investing. Cool? On to the rundown. Okay, so HOOW stands for the Roundhill Hood Weekly Pay ETF, and it launched on June 18th of this year, so that's 2025, so it's only a few months old. Its goal, to pay weekly distributions while tracking 120% of Robinhood's weekly total return. But HOO doesn't actually own Robinhood stock. Instead, it uses something called a total return swap. So for clarity, a total return swap, it's basically a contract, and HOOW, they pay a fee to a counterparty, and in return, they receive the full return of the hood stock, including price movements and dividends, and hoping that's multiplied by a 1.2 times multiplier. So think of it like renting a leveraged version of Robinhood stock and then collecting weekly payouts. So this fund is actively managed. It has a 0.99% expense ratio, which, is about right for this kind of fund. And it's already grown to over $80 million in assets under management in just a couple months. So that's pretty fast. But now let's talk dividends, and this is where HOOW gets pretty gnarly. The distribution yield is currently 197.6%, and yes, you heard me right. The estimated annual payout is $127.83 per share, and as of the date of this recording, it's just under $70 a share. It's like $63 or $64 a share, which is crazy. The SEC 30-day yield, though, is only 2.99%, which tells us most of the income isn't from traditional dividends. It's coming from the swap performance, which we talked about earlier. And the reason why people love it so much, if it isn't obvious, HOOW pays every single week. Well, that and the 200% yield, I think, is why people like it. But yeah, moving on, the distributions have ranged from 83 cents to $2.45 per share. And to me, that's a pretty wide spread. And that kind of variance brings us to the risks, which we should definitely talk about. And let's see about those risks. So risk number one is the payout volatility. So this isn't SCHD or realty income. Your weekly income can and will fluctuate a lot. And if you're relying on this for income, you either have to budget based on the lowest payout, or you just have to be okay with the unpredictability of the distribution. Is what it is. The second risk, it's only a single stock exposure. So HOOW is 100% tied to Robinhood. So if Robinhood drops, HOOW will likely drop harder because of the leverage. And I've been burned before by similar ETFs like TSLY and NVDY. They started strong and then they tanked when the underlying stock fell and hasn't really recovered since. Number three, the synthetic structure. So you're not actually holding shares. I've always talked about this in my videos. You're holding derivative contracts. That adds counterparty risk, complexity, and just a more complicated tax structure. I prefer ETFs that hold the underlying stock and sell options on those. And fourth on the risk list is this fund is just way too new. The ETF only launched in mid-June of this year. We haven't seen how it performs in a sideways or down market, with the exception of the past few days if you want to count that. And if you do count that, it's been pretty resilient so far, but only time will tell. So all that being said, who is this fund actually for? It might make sense for you if you want weekly income, if you're bullish on Robinhood, if you understand how synthetic ETFs work, and you're using this as a small speculative play, meaning you're just experimenting, see what's going on. But it's probably not for you if you need stable income, if you prefer diversification, or if you're investing for retirement safety. There are definitely better funds and even high yield covered call funds that are better for retirement and better for steady income. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get to the showdown, the head to head. Let's compare HOOW with ULTY, another popular high yield weekly income ETF by YieldMax. And this one has been one of the most polarizing ETFs in 2025. So it makes sense for us to compare them. And here they are side by side. HOOW is up 47.71% since launch. ULTY is up only 4.96% year to date. And HOOW's estimated annual payout is $127.83 per share. ULTY's is just $5.20 per share. Keep in mind that, HOOW is around $63, $64 a share. ULTY is only around $5, $6 a share. They do have some things in common. They both pay weekly. They both have around a 0.99% expense ratio. But the difference here is in the strategies used. So HOOW uses total return swaps on Robinhood alone, like we talked about before. But ULTY sells options on an index of highly volatile funds. So it acts more like a fund of stocks. And HOOW has the edge in yield and performance so far, but they both carry risks for sure. And also, for fun and for research purposes, I ran a 5-year investment simulation. I started with roughly a $600 initial investment in these funds, and we did a 5-year time frame with dividends reinvested and contributing $500 extra per year and assuming a 10% decline. That's a decline, not growth. It's a decline in the growth in dividends. So here were the results, and we'll start with ULTY. First up is ULTY. So with reinvested dividends over 5 years, ULTY ends with an account value of $182,317, a total return that is about 5,311%, annual dividend income that hits $369,000 with a total of $188,000 in dividend payments annually. Wow, that was a mouthful. But yeah, that's the results for ULTY. Now let's move on to HOOW. And this one is wild. It's crazy. Same scenario. HOOW finishes with a portfolio value of nearly $12 million. And that's a total return of over 350,000%. Crazy. Annual dividend income hits $72.6 million. And total dividends received over 5 years is $12.2 million. That sounds insane. It definitely is. But remember, these are best case hypotheticals. They assume consistent distribution performance, no drop in hood, and a perfect execution of the swap strategy. I definitely won't be doing this, but it is great food for thought and helps me understand how this could fit into a larger strategy. So where do I stand? Full transparency, I do hold HOOW myself. I also have ULTY. HOOW is about 1% of my portfolio right now, and it may grow a bit, but I'm going to be cautious about that. Why? Because like I mentioned earlier, it's based on just one stock, and I've been burned before with these single stock ETFs. That said, I am bullish on Robinhood. I hold that in my Roth IRA, so I'm keeping a close eye on this one and watching the data week by week. For you, let me know down in the comments. Are you holding HOOW, ULTY, or another weekly income ETF? Maybe that one performs better, it's more stable. Are these high yields worth the risk to you? What's your current strategy for income investing in 2025? Let's talk. Let's keep the conversation going. Comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Hit that thumbs up if you like these kinds of breakdowns. Subscribe if you want to see more. I really appreciate you all. If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Boom.